On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
And I would say this talking personally because I do have a daughter and she's 5, and y'all know me and her dad get along great. He sees her half the week. I have her half the week. However, does that affect my daughter? Yes. Even today when I went and picked her up because we're dealing with COVID. But when I picked her up, she was like, "Man, mommy, I wish you lived with daddy. I'm tired of going back and forth." Even though we get along and she has an awesome relationship and he's great and they talk every single day, the fact that I have to go pick her up or he drops her off half the week and half a week, do you not think she suffers? She does. And she even told me today, "Mommy, I wish y'all lived together. Why can't you marry daddy?" It affects kids. They want mommy and daddy in the house 24/7. And I'm not banking on just a random commitment to give my body, my womb to a man that won't marry me because he can up and leave whenever willy-nilly he wants to. No, it's going to be some repercussions and some issues if you think you live in this house and I'm bearing all your children. Now, unfortunately, I'm knowing that now the goal is to say this in my story so no one else can go through what I'm going through. Not saying it's just a horrible life. I'm good, but there's issues and I have to have conversations with her. And I know mommy's not with daddy and have all that, which she don't deserve.
What value is there in speculating on what 3.5 billion women ultimately want?
What value is it you being on the panel having this conversation?
See, the difference between that question and this one, first, mine is related to the topic. The second thing is this.
Yeah, but my point is you answered the topic. You answered the topic, though.
Nobody can speak for 3.5 billion people.
How many black people are on Earth?
On Earth? About 2 billion.
So how can you speak for all black people?
I don't, and I don't.
You did. You just did. You're hypocritical too because you're using because you had a strong opinion about what black people should do and be like when it came to supporting the community and all of this other type of stuff.
I wasn't speaking for Liberian. I was speaking for Black Americans.
But then when it came to you coming in a simp mode,
should create jobs.
Do me a favor.
Black Americans.
Okay, Hannibal. Can I ask you a question real quick?
Please.
If your wife is in a room, blink twice. Okay, that answers everything. That gives context.
Doesn't.
Yes, it does. Because when it came to real life questions, that's something outside of your purview. When the woman that you got to sleep next to is in the room with you, you turn into beta simp. Now you don't understand why it makes sense to talk about 3.9 billion people on the earth. It doesn't make sense to even answer this question.
Let me tell you why that's absurd. I answered
the question. I just don't know why it makes sense to start talking about it now.
Why what you just said is absurd. You tried to make an equivalence between me speaking for 2 billion black people, okay, who don't live in the country, when I was making generalizations about economic practices for Black Americans. I live in America. You live in America.
You also live amongst women, and you see what's happening amongst them too, don't you? You don't know what women look like?
Black Americans should create jobs for Black Americans. I didn't say Black Americans should be creating jobs in Liberia for Liberians.
Audience, we holding everybody accountable. Nobody is ducking this smoke tonight. Nobody.
Why when you brought up all the black people in the world, that was ridiculous, and I just painted exactly why.
Let me ask you a question, Hannibal.
All right, I gotta get the rest of the people on the
course. Let me ask you a question because you were talking about all the women in the world. Mm-hmm. Are all the women in the world built to have children?
For the most part.
Lauren, you're shaking your head. All the women in the world, you have breasts.
Not all women can have children, but yes, women.
That's not. Well, that's the minimum of cases. However, they maybe can. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of women can't. But however, their bodies
are built, created.
You have breasts for milk. You have ovaries for your eggs. You have a vagina opening to insert and let it out. So every single woman is made to be a mother.
Yes, I agree.
So would you not think that in order to be a mother, they need a husband?
Absolutely.
So wouldn't that be the ultimate goal to be a?
I do not. I do not, because you can have a baby without having a husband.
And that's the issue. That was my issue, and that's the issue that we have is I'm able to bear it, but I should have had a husband before I did.
Should you have had a husband, or should you have had a committed
I should have been a wife before I had a child.
Partner?
I should
a
have
committed partner wouldn't have got the job done.
A partner that could just leave willy-nilly.
Y'all don't see what's wrong with this.
Committed partner.
Courtney, this is the problem that I have. Because before we can start even talking about, and this is just my personal opinion, before we can even start talking about the Black community, they don't even know how to get their own house in order in the first place.
That's why it takes us and look like us.
What an ugly
but
generalization.
Hold on, Courtney. This is what I'm saying. It's easy to agree with people based off of one subject, right? Based off of this one thing, but at a fundamental level, at a human level, if this guy does not understand the importance of being in a marriage and how it actually affects the wealth building process, along with how it damages the community when you shacking up and having children, what are we talking about? I'm glad you made your sign. That's cute. I'll edit it out in the editing process. I'll run that. I control that. So we're not even gonna worry about that. Okay. But what are we talking about? He don't even understand the importance of not shacking up and having children, which goes against your very principles and the things that you stand for, Courtney. Right. And then he'll sit here and I don't know.
But no, it does. And that's why
maybe I'm the crazy one.
But that's what I'm saying. So every single woman, whether something might have happened.
I don't think you're talking about you. I just think the message you're putting out for everybody else. I mean, I know you're married, but I just think right. So I think,
but I can't. I wouldn't presume to say that being married is the only way to get it done.
Why not?
Because first and foremost,
what is it? The true commitment.
The origin of marriage. When marriage first began, there was an exchange of dowries. People would give a bunch of goats, and then that was a commerce, a commercial aspect to marriage.
Correct.
Marriage today is not like it was back then.
But if we're saying it's still a business, it started off as a business and continues to be a business.
I didn't say that. Marriage is by definition a social construct. So when I believe in it. I believe in it wholeheartedly. That's why I got married.
But if you believe in it,
why aren't you preaching it?
Why aren't you preaching it?
Because it is not for me to put my look. I can promote it, but there's just places where it doesn't make sense.
Where? What place?
And maybe that sounds ridiculous. I'll own that. But I just know. Look, I know.
Are you making this up as you go along, fam? Honestly,
no.
Like
what I'm drawing from is how many people know people who've been together for decades, but they didn't get married. They raised kids together. They lived together. They just didn't go over the formality of getting married. They raised well-adjusted kids. They stayed together the entire time. They died together. They just weren't married.
Hannibal,
I don't know anyone like that.
On the family structure, though, Hannibal. Like, what was the impact? What was the impact as a result of that?
Let somebody talk long enough, they're gonna reveal themselves.
Do you know what I'm saying? So yes, it has happened. People
I don't know anyone like that
without being married, but the impact to the family structure took a major hit. So what Courtney and I are saying is that people should be married before they have children, because what you do is produce kids that ultimately suffer at the loss of not having their father or mother, depending on whatever the situation is. Like there's strength in having a family, and it's a business. So,
and I would say this, talking personally, because I do have a daughter and she's 5, and y'all know me and her dad get along great. He sees her half the week. I have her half the week. However, does that affect my daughter? Yes. Even today when I went and picked her up, because we're dealing with COVID. But when I picked her up, she was like, man, mommy, I wish you lived with daddy. I'm tired of going back and forth. Even though we get along and she has an awesome relationship and he's great and they talk every single day, the fact that I have to go pick her up or he drops her off half the week and half a week, do you not think she suffers? She does. And she even told me today, Mommy, I wish y'all lived together. Why can't you marry daddy? It affects kids. They want mommy and daddy in the house 24/7. And I'm not banking on just a random commitment to give my body, my womb to a man that won't marry me because he can up and leave whenever willy-nilly he wants to. No, it's going to be some repercussions and some issues if you think you live in this house and I'm bearing all your children. Now, unfortunately, I'm knowing that now the goal is to say this in my story so no one else can go through what I'm going through. Not saying it's just a horrible life. I'm good, but there's issues and I have to have conversations with her. And I know mommy's not with daddy and have all that, which she don't deserve.